finished the speech portion of this section. Once again, I'm going to throw it open to you, the students in the audience, and ask, do we have any questions for your candidates for VP Welfare and Community? I have a question up there. I'll take that one, please, Kira.
I didn't see who it was.
It was Daisy.
None of you have mentioned in your speech the issue in student life about binge drinking and the dangers of binge drinking, and how many freshers have had problems with binge drinking and of things that happen to them. How would you address this, and what would you do in order to make more awareness around the dangers of drinking?
Okay, what would you do about student binge drinking? And the first answer will come from David Holmes. You've got 1 minute.
Well, that's something that I'd try and have set out before Freshers Week. I'd try and get potentially members of all the years to be part of the Welcome Week that are more than happy to help out if students have issues. I'd also have a meeting on the first day of Freshers Week and try and explain how getting to and from town occurs, and also I have to have some meetings throughout the year where if people are having problems, they can come and talk to someone, be it me, or we could have various people, rather than if they feel that they can't come to me about it. And then I would take the appropriate steps needed if they need professional help, or just if they need people that they feel that they can talk to in a private setting and potentially work through the problems that they have themselves.
Thank you. Jack?
Well, one way to start that is before when they start during Fresh Week, to give out advice of, to look after themselves, the risks of drinking, and of course during course of university things can happen. So one of the things which I would recommend is working with a health advisor who possibly could specialise in alcohol abuse, and bring them in to talk about the risks of it if people are having problems, and how to help them further, and try and set up a safe space so they can feel they can talk about it and feel more comfortable.
Okay, Rachel.
So yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think sometimes the issue can encourage binge drinking, and I think that's something that we don't want to go too far on, especially in Freshers Week. I think that we should be distributing pamphlets about drinking awareness and offering safe spaces in all of our Freshers events for when students may have had too much to drink, so that they know that they have somewhere safe to go and can rely on us to make sure they get home okay.
Thank you. Laura.
One thing that I was thinking about looking at would be a scheme called City Safe, which is where students that go out in town have a safe option to get back home. So that's like a taxi or a bus service that could run between all three of the universities in Liverpool. And that would also include sort of personal development workshops that students could drop in and learn about how to cope with drinking, cope with amounts of alcohol in a sensible way, and not to go overboard, especially in Freshers Week. So that's
Danny.
There's a number of ways of tackling it. I'd work closely with Drink Aware, who are like the large national campaign against binge drinking. I'd also look into ways of getting the students home safely. I know all universities run night buses and things like that, so there's opportunities to maybe look at shuttle buses that run late at night that could get students home. I had something else I was going to say, I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember honestly. I had one last thing I was going to say, but yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you to keep hold of that mic there, Danny. Do we have another question from anyone? Oh, I'm seeing a few. Who got their hand first? I'm going to start with Katie there in the middle. Get that, just pass. You kind of passed it along. Cannot get the staff, I tell you. Anyway, banter aside, what's your question?
Kira.
Could you just sit down, Kira, because you're just in the way of the camera there.
Good job. Okay, so obviously a lot of the candidates have a lot of pledges to fulfil in a year. What I'm wondering is how you'll be able to motivate yourself and ensure that the pledges will be fulfilled.
Okay, Danny, you're first. 1 minute.
I I've read all the other manifestos. There's one thing that stands out between their manifestos and mine, and that is that I've committed that if I don't fulfil my pledges, that I would take a pay cut, and none of the rest of them have, and that's what I would do.
Okay, Lamar?
I'm really passionate about this university and the issue, so I would really feel that I would be driven to commit to fulfil my pledges regardless of any of the sort of like motivations. I want to help this university and I want to help the issue, and I want to listen to what your feedback is and then work on it for you guys.
Okay, Rachel?
I'm very motivated in achieving the policies that I've set out. I think all my policies are achievable and measurable. I think that quite a lot of welfare issues are awareness-based and they're not especially measurable. So if you're setting out policies that you are definitely saying that you promise to achieve that, how are you going to measure whether the outcome of that is beneficial or not?
Okay, and Jack?
While I've set out quite a lot of aims I want to achieve, as I mentioned in my speech, I believe that they are quite achievable. I'm a well-driven, determined individual. If anyone has worked with me before, they will tell you that I'm determined. Once I got my mindset, I'm determined to get it done. I'm passionate about what I do, and I wouldn't think I'd doing this if I didn't have the passion to carry forward. So, thank you.
And David?
Like everyone else, I'm passionate about what I believe in and I think it's achievable. I also think that it's the time that you start looking at it. Like already I'm trying to think of places that we can have drop-in centres and where we can meet up with people and which rooms will be available for if it's going to be a larger meeting for meetings within Freshers Week. And I think that I honestly believe that it's when you start it. And I think that this is a lot of the things that I want to do and the other candidates want to do. It's not something that we can just turn up in the middle of October and then try and start then. I think it's something that as soon as the election's finished, it's got to be started working on then, and that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, thank you. David? I've got time for one more question. The gentleman in the green t-shirt, I'll take that one.
Hey, a lot of students come around with different questions and queries regarding welfare, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone that studies really to say the bare minimum they would expect is to be acknowledged. How would you ensure that?
Okay, start with you, David.
Again, I'd have days where people can come and talk to me. I try to have it where I'm always approachable, like I've got multiple email addresses. I'd have my mobile number out. I'd make sure that there's various ways that you can reach me within the day. I'm more than happy to have time devoted where I'm just around. Like I'll send an email blast around saying I'm going to be at Fresh Hope, or I'm going to be somewhere on the creative campus, or I'm going to be in the Eden building. And then if anyone's got an issue, they can come and find me. And then as soon as they let me know what the problem is, we can then work together to come up with a result to it. And then I'd follow that up with talking to whichever member of staff it was applicable to.
Okay, Jack?
This is an issue which can be addressed from multiple ways. One way of such is to try and make myself more available, to have drop-in sessions where people can come to talk to me about these issues and ask how it's what I'm doing and what more can be done. This is something which I would like to try and put towards other campuses, not just here, but looking at Creative and at Egbert. And also, at the moment we do have the current forum system, which is once a term. I want to try and expand that so students feel that they can hear more what's happening and they can express their voices more on any issues they think we're not doing. So thank you for the question.
Okay, Rachel.
I think that is the beauty of being at Hope, with it being such a small unit and our union being small and specialist. It makes students feel like they're not a number and actual individuals. So we have only a small amount of staff to dedicate to a lot of students. So I propose that we make sure more time is devoted to having open door policies so people can drop in and making it an approachable and safe environment for people to feel like that they can come in and talk to us anytime, and that includes Creative and Egbert, making sure that we're available on those campuses as well.
Lamar?
One thing that React were thinking about doing was having half-day sessions at Creative in Egbert throughout the week, so people could go in and speak to people. And we want to be a really visible presence on campus. We want to be some people that people recognise and feel comfortable to approach with any problems that they have. And also the online chat service that we want to set up is something that anyone can sort of ask questions 24 hours a day and get professional, relevant feedback on anything that they may have, so nobody is lost in the lots of people.
Thank you. Danny?
We've had a number of discussions about this. In my manifesto, we've all committed to doing two half days at Creative Campus, so we're available. We're also going to campaign on getting offices at Creative Campus. I know in the past that the Students' Union and other people in the university have been guilty of not replying to emails and things like that, so we're going to have commitments as well to a time frame in terms of 12 hours or whatever for replying to emails. And if we're at conferences as well, we won't be switching off our emails and stuff, we'll be checking those as well.
Okay, thank you, Danny. We do have quite a lot of questions here, so I am going to take one more. So if anyone else has got a question, is there one more question?
I'll do it when I.
Oh, I've got to. Are you wanting to ask a question, Lucy?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that question as a question.
Sustainability.
Oh, do you want to just wait for the microphone for me, please?
I'm quite loud.
She is loud.
I'm quite loud.
I know, just make sure the candidates can hear at the front here.
Sustainability and the environment is one of the single most important issues society and all students face. In all of the speeches, not a single candidate mentioned sustainability. Why not? And what will you do as VP Welfare and Community, and what sort of campaigns will you run?
Okay, so what will you do about sustainability? Start with you, Danny.
Carrying on from the work with Peter Downey's done, the current Vice President Welfare and Community. Obviously his work with Green Space has been amazing. It goes without saying that probably anybody that's on this panel would continue his work and have to continue his work as some kind of legacy. That's pretty much all I've got to say. It really goes without saying.
Okay, Lamar.
I would like to get involved with the student switch off, so making sure that lights and electricity and all the buildings that have got lights on at night that are sort of not necessary are switched off, and then we're switching off all electrical devices when they're not used, sort of that kind of thing, as well as carrying on with what Pete's done with the allotment and sort of the green ethos that has been going on with that. So it's definitely something that I would carry on.
Rachel.
I do think the environment and sustainability are one of the most important things for students, to make sure that we're sending good, well-rounded people out into the community. I'd carry on again with the Green Hope Society, student switch off, carry on with fair trade mornings, and making sure that the university, we lobby them on making ethical decisions about what kind of things we buy into as a organisation.
Thank you. Jack.
There's been quite a lot of work on sustainability going on, with Pete doing great work with the allotment and Green Hope. This is something which I would wish to continue. Also, Student Switch Off is another great campaign which we have been having for a couple of years now. Let's try and cater it more, let's try and get everyone involved with it. Also to try and lobby university to partake in such activities themselves. So not only as a union, but as a Liverpool Hope itself, we're showing that we have a commitment to being more green, and also with working with local charity groups who specialise in environment and sustainability.
Like all the other candidates have said, there's obviously Pete's work that he's done that everyone will continue with, but also from the stance of you could have events with students where, although there's things already ongoing, you can then get more students involved, which is something you can take from students and then get in voluntary work. So it's also, you cross more of a line between the two as well, where the environment's something that we need to be involved in, and also you can increase the student involvement in it as well. So I'll try as much as I can to get more courses involved through the uni and get the uni involved that way, and then try and get as many students as I can involved through volunteering.
Okay, can we have a big round of applause for your candidates for Vice President of Welfare and Community?